Right, good evening everyone, how are we all doing? I'm going to assume everyone but Hamish is doing okay. As Discord decided to vote for a more Mantis Warrior painting, which I was kind of surprised by. I thought you guys would have wanted to see Alfarius finished, but hey. Today we're going to be working on one of the first squads for the army, and I need your guys' help / decision making. So firstly, I printed out some Mark 6 shoulder pads for Mantis Warriors with their symbol because there's no way I'm painting it and I can't find any decent decals. Secondly, there's a unit I really think is iconic for the Mantis Warriors, which they never really got to use, unfortunately, because rules. And that's a recon squad. So the idea of using the Horus Heresy rules for the Mantis Warriors works out really well here. The question is, how much do you guys like to see me suffer, and how much yellow would you like to see me paint today? Because there's two colour schemes for Mantis Warriors, which are fairly iconic. There's their green and yellow. Yeah, it's like this guy. Oh, that side. Yeah, so green and the yellow, the black. And then there is the Tranquility camouflage, which people of, I suppose, an older vintage when it comes to Warhammer might be familiar with, which is the Marine wearing full yellow with black three-bladed leaves on. Kind of think of like maple leaves, I guess. Painted on top of it. Now, the thing with the Tranquility camouflage is it's kind of associated with the reconnaissance squads and the elite squads of the Mantis Warriors. It's not like a, so I'd say like a standard thing that veterans and like sneaky guys run around in Tranquility camouflage. But it's kind of, associated with them. And as like trying to explain the army list to a friend who plays White Scars in Horus Heresy because I wanted his feedback. And it's basically what I'm trying to build here, this Mantis Warriors army, is an army which fits within the rules and the lore of the White Scars, but as if I'm building an army from 3rd edition. So one of the squads I'd really like to make for this army of Mantis Warriors is a 10-man squad of missile launchers. Not because that would necessarily be a good unit to take in the Horus Heresy. It's not bad, it's just not great either. There's plenty of other options which are probably better for you to be taken than a 10-man squad of missile launchers. But the missile launcher Mark 6 Marine is such like an iconically retro choice. What I'm trying to do is find an image. Here we go. Right. Right. Yep. That's the image. Come on, Pinterest. Just let me save you. I just signed in. How can you be friends with a bot? the bot is incapable of being a friend back to you. Also, I'm in a very privileged position where I don't need to consider bots friends because I have you guys. Not saying that all of you are friends, but you're all friendly to me and people I enjoy the company of. So I don't really feel like I'm lacking in friends because, you know, I have this regular community to be around. A GPT is not a friend. Would you say I'm your friend? That's a difficult one because, like, obviously we spend a lot of our time together, but at the same time, we aren't necessarily friendly. It's a weird one. It's like the eternal issue, I suppose, with streaming is, you know, it's like I'm here to provide entertainment and, you know, spend like time having a good experience with you guys. And we definitely do that. If that's how you define friendship, then I guess yes. But in terms of like, you're someone I would trust without question, and you know, someone I'd definitely consider spending time with, like in IRL. I don't know you well enough to do that. That's one of the weird dynamics when it comes to streaming and the kind of relationship I have with you guys. There are a few of you who are exceptions because you are actual friends of mine who enjoy watching me stream as well. But yeah, it's a weird one. Right, so to quickly go back to the whole yeah, like actual Mantis on the subject of today's stream, which color scheme would you like to see me paint for Recon Marines in? Because both of them are completely thematic and accurate. Because the Mantisaurs are from a time in which Space Marines wore camouflage is the thing, as well as their default camouflage. There's some incredible color schemes from this time period. Look up Rogue Trader Space Marine colors, or look up the Bad Hat War colors. There are some truly fantastic ones. The Salamanders is something to behold. And so is the old Space Shark camo as well, for that note. There you go. There's a poll for you, wonderful people, to decide how much I suffered today. I've been enjoying seeing progress on yours, Solitaire. And what do you mean it doesn't work? Can't vote. See what happens if I delete the poll and then try again. Okay, try now. Well, someone's voted. When isn't it being weird? Well, there's a distinct trend towards doing the tranquility camouflage. Another nice thing about doing this project is I have a lot of standard GW bases, and considering I'm going to be basing these on the sand texture, this works really well. And I am using Tamiya Extra Thin Cement, which is like kind of like the Holy Grail standard paint, glue you should be using really at this point. Would highly recommend it. Yeah, actually, that's a fun topic. Golden Demon. So this is a annual painting competition held by Games Workshop to showcase the best and the brightest of painters across the world. This year, the event was held at Adepticon, and the winner was someone who made a Exodite Cold One rider. So an Eldari who lives on a tribal planet with and was riding a dinosaur, because the Exodites don't use magic, they use primitive technology. So basically wood elves for 40k. And the thing with it was the backdrop used, like the background image used that was presented with the model, was AI generated. And this has caused a lot of controversy and a lot of debate in the Warhammer community over whether or not this is okay. And no, is my answer. It's not okay. This is not something that should be acceptable or should be allowed. Whilst yes, the main reason why that entry won was the fantastic and like genuinely incredible paint job of the model. It looks really good. The issue comes from the fact that the presentation, the backdrop, the setting, factors in to the overall assessment of the model. So it was like the incredible Age of Sigmar one, which was the vampire stood at a lake, right? And the reflection being invisible, and it's just the that was truly incredible. That was by far my favourite entry to Golden Demon. And the thing is, because the backdrop image, that image of the forest and the leaves, all of that factors into the final decision as to whether or not this should win. And you know, it's like was part of a factor as to why that model won. It should not have been allowed. As to whether or not I think the model should be disqualified because it's AI, that's a different question. I think that the results should be upheld for this one because it doesn't say in the rules you're not allowed to use AI. However, it should definitely be amended for next year and future years' competitions, because it should be very clear and very obvious that AI-generated images should not be allowed to be used for the purposes of a painting competition, right? I feel like, you know, like yes, the subject to your painting is a miniature model, not a, you know, a 2D image, but, you know, like think about that for a second. You entered an AI-generated image into a painting competition. Right, that should just not be allowed. So yeah, it's a really bad look for Games Workshop that they haven't put any effort into trying to address that this could have been a potential issue. especially as at the moment one of their partnered game studios is currently under a lot of flack online recently for their use of what seems to be AI imagery. So, if you're unaware of what I'm talking about, the Legions card game, the 30k card game on Steam and mobile, has been under a lot of scrutiny recently for a couple of its recent images that it's put out, showcasing some of the new characters being introduced into the Legions card game. Now, the issues stem from the fact that the last two in a row look suspiciously a lot like they were generated with AI, and would appear to be AI reinterpretations of classic artwork depicting characters. So the first one was Arkan Land. So, you know, they decided to, by the looks of things, they haven't said whether or not they have used AI at any point in the creative process or not yet. But it looks suspiciously a lot like they fed an AI image generator an image of Arkan Land as drawn by Blanche, and asked it to refresh it and color it. And that's caused a lot of controversy recently, because A, that artwork was done by Blanche. You do not defile his artwork, especially considering, you know, it's like basically sacred status when it comes to Warhammer. You just don't. That's just not something you should do. The second part of that is it's lazy, and the original artwork looks good anyway. And why not just hire someone to actually, you know, paint some artwork inspired by the original? It's not like they're strapped for cash, you know. We've got a license from Games Workshop to make this thing, and I know the card game prints money. And funnily enough, because of the artwork, I know a lot of people who actually have the card game downloaded so they can actually reference the artwork on the trading cards. Then there's also, you know, the fact that it's a tech priest. It's Arkan Land that they decided to use AI to generate an image of. And, you know, generating AI of a, a tech priest of the Mechanicum. That doesn't sound like a good idea. And then they followed that one up with an image of the new Fabius Bile artwork for him as a warlord. And that one's even worse. There's a lot of weirdness to the image. That really doesn't make any sense. It's like I pointed out on Twitter that his Narcapium doesn't have a chain blade. It has like a weird, like, set of like jagged teeth, but not like in like a fleshcrafty way. It looks like AI struggled to generate a chainsword and no one noticed. And, you know, again, the artwork for Fabius Bile during the Heresy is also quite iconic as well. I think it's not even teeth. It's a singular slab of like spiky bits that suggest teeth. And again, it's the art it's based on is clearly like heavily referenced as well. Like it's not subtle that this was, you know, an image based on previous artwork. One of AI art, but still do like chatbots. I have something to talk to. Have you considered just talking in my Discord server more and talking to people in our community? There's nothing to be gained from just talking to a generative prompt text. Well, you're not going to help yourself by talking to something which will only say what it wants, what it thinks you want to hear. Like, you can be incredibly socially inept and incapable of talking with other people and still, like, you know, get something out of a GPT. But it won't improve your ability to talk to humans. Hey Hamish, how's it going? To be honest, I'm surprised Alfarius didn't win the vote. I thought people would have wanted to see more of the cool colour shifting paint. But unfortunately for me, no. They want to see me paint yellow. Insects are very cool. So, Hamish, what you're telling me is you lost the vote because you didn't vote. Now, if that wasn't commentary for the British political system, I don't know what could be. Alright, catch you later, Alex. Yes, but even then, in total, what, roughly a quarter of the UK was actually voting? Like, yes, it was a relatively large amount of the people eligible to vote, but still it wasn't everyone. And also, funnily enough, most of the people who statistically voted for Brexit are now dead, or likely dead. So, yeah. And COVID really assisted with that one. Yeah, but the issue is it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it means that the rest of us who didn't vote for Brexit have to suffer with their fucking incompetence whilst they, spend, their time probably in hell. Actually, post-Brexit Britain or hell? That's the question. Which one would you prefer to be in? On that note, I am incredibly looking forward to next year. Because it will be a year that the Conservative Party is no longer in power. So, hey, you know, the view count has already steadily dropped. From when we started talking about the AI drama at Adepticon. Let's kill it even further and talk politics a little bit. Because why not, right? Yeah, the Labour Party has some pretty big brain plans when it comes to dealing with Brexit, and I am all here for it because they're doing it. We're going around dealing with Brexit in a really entertaining way, and there's basically by not being for once to suggest Brexit, well, a referendum on Brexit and rejoining the European Union, but by getting the people to suggest it and ask for it. As what Labour wants to do is re-establish people's conferences or people's forums. I can't remember what the correct term is, but basically, in each region, they want to re-establish like a group of randomly selected people to represent like the averages of the demographics in those areas, and they want them to come up with ideas and like things to ask Parliament to debate and vote on. Basically, taking extra steps to decentralize politics and, you know, help people have a better say in what actually happens. And so it'll be up to those people to, you know, kind of vote and decide whether or not, you know, pushing to rejoin the European Union will be something that people actually want. And then once they say, yes, actually this is what the people would like, then Parliament will debate it. The Parliament will debate it and decide whether or not it's something that people should actually push for, and it will have the will of the people behind it. You know, it's something that the people decided rather than Parliament. Which Keir Starmer has said repeatedly that it will not be up to Parliament to decide the future of the European Union, which is a really clever way of saying, you know, a sentence which people will understand if they do understand it, but for the idiots that don't, you know, for the people with the you know, an IQ roughly equal to the amount of seats the Conservative Party is going to get in the next election. You know, it sounds like Labour's not going to do anything about Brexit. But for people who do understand politics and won't be voting Conservative, the chances are they'll understand that, hang on a second, they're setting us up to rejoin the European Union by getting the people to, you know, pressure Parliament to debate a referendum on rejoining the European Union to create a new referendum. And hey, Agrax. It's been pretty good. Mostly been focusing on doing Horus Heresy stuff and doing the Old World. But I've been playing a lot of MechWarrior Online and MechWarrior 5 on streams as well. So yeah, it's been good. At the moment, building an army based on Space Marine chapter of the Mantis Warriors for the Horus Heresy tabletop game. They're not canonically in the Horus Heresy, but building them to be compatible for rule sets so I can play games with. So at the moment, putting together some Recon Marines using some 3D printed parts, which I haven't actually talked about yet. Yeah, it's been good. Well, there hasn't been a second referendum yet. And originally I think so. It was a little bit before my time. So, I think so. Yeah, Agrox, if you're still there in YouTube chat, how have you been? I'm fairly sure I remember your name. But yeah, it has been a little while. Also, if you've seen names in stream and stuff, and you've seen me talking about stuff with people, it's because I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube. If you're on one platform and wondering why I'm talking and responding to people on the other. I struggle with the idea of people voting who don't really understand what they are voting for and how. Yeah, and that's one of the things that, Brexit will forever stay as a cautionary tale about. Because it's a perfect example of, people being, unfortunately, nowhere near educated enough to actually understand what they are voting for, and also the fact that those who blatantly lied will never be held accountable for it because of how, they basically rigged the system. Yeah, the Vote Leave campaign was one that was just, absolutely covered in lies. That if you didn't know any better, you wouldn't necessarily be aware were lies or the issues with the statements they were making. Part of that is, just the terrible education system around this. And it's like, without trying to sound too conspiratorial, if your entire, way of getting into power, it revolves around you saying stuff, which isn't exactly truthful, you're not going to put effort into making sure that people do understand the truth. Yeah, so basically, as I was studying politics at the time, so, it was really fucking fascinating to me. And I had a partner at the time, not exactly the nicest person, unfortunately, but she was very into politics, and so were her family. So, it was very, very, very much in my mind, politics at the time, and like what was going on Brexit. And to overly simplify, David Cameron, the Prime Minister at the time, did not think that Brexit would happen. And he was dealing with a group of idiots on the right of the Conservative Party who were basically absolutely terrified of the idea of UKIP becoming a legitimate party. And because the right of his party and UKIP were both, pressuring and saying, hey, look, we should leave the European Union together, he basically tried to call their bluff by suggesting that, it's like, if put to a vote, the people wouldn't vote for it. He basically, because he didn't really care what was going to happen to the country either way, he kind of allowed them, the idiots, as I'm going to call them, because I'm not going to be completely biased on this one, because I'm incredibly angry about it all. Because, I have family in Germany. I am half German. I can't easily go and visit my friends and family in Germany anymore. It's a real fucking pain. I can't get all the nice stuff I normally used to be able to buy from Germany. Because, I quite like German food. There's lots of things from Germany I really like. I can't access them anymore. Really fucking annoying. Even basic things which I used to be able to go and buy from Aldi or Lidl for like 50 pence. So, it's annoyed me quite a bit. Also one of the main reasons why I can't actively be into Battletech as much as I want to, as well. And why I find it so difficult to find Tamiya paints to use. But yeah. So, anyway, David Cameron basically allowed the right of his party, people who were really invested in the idea of Brexit, to determine how to do the referendum because he was so confident it wouldn't happen. And so they made some very, 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 very important decisions and were allowed to get away with them. Namely, pressuring David Cameron to say and support the idea that whatever was voted for would be what he would do. Which, on a surface value, you'd think, yeah, well, that makes sense. It's if people vote for it, you should probably go ahead with it, right? But the second thing, and the reason why it worked, and why the right were able to get away with this, the right wing of the Conservative Party in the UK were able to get away with this, is they made sure that the referendum was, defined as being a non-legally binding referendum, as in something that was purely set up to be suggestive and indicative rather than being law-defining. And that comes with many different restrictions and limits. If you're it's you can't actively lie during the campaign for an election and stuff. There's certain things you can't do in a legally binding vote. Those things don't apply in the situation where you are talking about a suggestive vote, as the Brexit referendum was. So it basically set up a situation where the vote leave campaigners could basically get away with saying and suggesting whatever they wanted, and they wouldn't be held accountable for it. And you had a lot of very vocal and people considered charismatic on the vote leave campaign, right? It's I don't understand how people could ever consider Nigel Farage charismatic or popular or likable or anything even remotely like that. The same with Boris Johnson. I've never liked him. Meanwhile, on the other side, you had the pretty unpopular Prime Minister who was, had spent quite a while in office, especially compared to the rest of the Conservative Prime Ministers since, David Cameron, and the incredibly divisive and relatively unpopular leader of the Labour Party in the form of Jeremy Corbyn. And you know what? You're kind of conditioned to just dislike Jeremy Corbyn on principle because, he is supposedly an evil communist who supported the IRA. He doesn't. And, it's there's lots of vilification of Jeremy Corbyn. And then you also had David Cameron, who represented, what a lot of people saw as wrong with Britain at the time. So to vote for Remain was to vote for a status quo, and to vote for things to stay as they are. In a situation where as they are is not very good, and people aren't very happy with it. Whereas the Vote Leave campaign was promising that, hey, we remove the people which you perceive as issues, and things will get better. So to people who don't understand politics, for people who, just read the newspapers and don't really think much about anything and just kind of agree with whatever their favourite newspaper says, it seemed like actually a relatively difficult choice. It's take the gamble and hope that things get better, or stay with things as they are and things could slowly get worse. So it's it wasn't just all people being absolute fucking morons. It was, there was a bit more of context to it in a really interesting way. But because the Vote Leave campaign then decided to, blatantly lie and, not tell the truth about what was actually going on and why they were doing things and why what they were doing had the risks it did actually have attached to it properly, people were sold a complete false image of what Brexit would be like. And the Remain side never did a good enough job of advertising what's actually good about the way things are. It's like I don't think I ever saw during the Brexit referendum, like, campaigning, a single Remain, like, official Remain campaign. Meanwhile, it's like through the letterbox we had multiple leaflets from different political parties and organisations explaining the benefits of Brexit. And like, even like where I was living at the time is a place called Totnes, which is a very hippie, very liberal place. You know, it's full of actual hippies and people rich enough to vote Liberal Democrat. Like, those are the only two types of people who really live in Totnes. You know, so I was like this weird third anomaly there. And you know, it's like even there, you know, Remain campaigns weren't happening. There wasn't really like any pressure from the local Green Party, which were, or the local Liberal Democrats, which were the main two parties, there, all the Conservatives, to, you know, push the idea that Remain is actually a good idea. But we, you know, it's like one of the most like defining things for me about the whole Brexit referendum was Sargon came to a rally in Totnes. You know, Sargon, if you can, you know, that YouTuber who, you know, comes up with constantly terrible fucking opinions all the time. He showed up to a rally in Totnes to push the idea of Brexit. You know, it's like all the places where you'd consider a good place to show up to try and do a Brexit rally. Totnes really wasn't the place for that. And, you know, still Sargon was still here. Well, not here, but still there in Totnes, campaigning for Brexit. And it resulted in, I think, one of the most viral images of Brexit, which was him being covered in a fucking milkshake. So, you know, it's like UKIP decided to have a rally in Totnes, and yeah, he got a milkshake thrown over him, which is where that entire thing started as well. The idea of throwing milkshakes at politicians. It was really funny because at the time I was going to college in Exeter, and the Leave campaign Big Red Bus showed up in Exeter. Only Boris Johnson was not on it because he was too scared to show up in Exeter because of how large the counter-protests were to the Leave campaign, and he was genuinely concerned milkshakes were going to be thrown over him. And so we had some Labour politician, I can't remember her name, show up, and she got fucking annihilated by politics students, countering her every single point very vocally over a microphone system in a open debate. It was really funny. He didn't get a milkshake thrown over her, though, unfortunately. Yeah, she wasn't worth a milkshake. I would say not even worth a McDonald's milkshake, but if you can get a McDonald's milkshake, you know, that's incredibly rare. And so you should probably hold on to that one and savour it whilst you can. I think you'd get into a little bit more trouble if you threw up on a politician than if you simply threw a milkshake on them. Also, if you're throwing a milkshake from the back of the crowd, it's difficult for the police to identify who threw it. Not that I'm giving advice on how to, throw milkshakes at politicians. If you were to do it, probably want to do it from somewhere in the middle of the crowd where it's difficult to identify where you are and who you are, in the case that people try to get you in trouble for it. True. Yeah, that would actually lessen the impact, wouldn't it? It's like, I talked to someone I was working with at the time the referendum happened, and she was pretty adamant on voting Brexit, because she was just so fed up with the way things were. And even after talking for a while about what the disadvantages were, she said she doesn't care. She just wanted change. She wanted anything else other than what was going on. And she saw this as the only opportunity for that change to happen. And there's no real getting through to her for me. I wonder how badly she's doing now, because she used to work. We both worked at a place that was had a fairly large amount of foreign workers. I can't imagine that place is doing well. But basically, to oversimplify, the Brexit vote was how quickly do you want things to get worse? Do you want things to get bad, really quickly? Or do you want things to get bad really slowly? Well, slowly. And people chose, for some reason, to go for it really quickly. And I know someone who voted for Brexit, despite being pretty against it. His reasoning was, the quicker the country falls apart, the quicker major reform will happen. Now, the thing is, which I find really funny, is this guy's Scottish. And, he's pretty intelligent and smart. I doubt he's watching this, but he's an incredibly intelligent guy, and it's I can't really fault his logic there. It's things are getting worse one way or another. How quickly they got worse was the real debate, and the issue is the main reason why he wanted it to do is he wanted the United Kingdom to fall apart to force a second referendum vote on Scotland leaving. And, well, that's worked out well for him. And, we're not going to get that change now. If anything, this has just prolonged how long it's taken for us to actually have any significant reform. Because it, spiraled out of control so drastically. And, it didn't help that David Cameron, the idiot who got us into this mess in the first place, decided to just dip because he just didn't care about the country, he just cared about the money. And just left the mess to everyone else who made it. And it's I've said it before, it's David Cameron is the only person I think he could really get close to saying won politics. Because it's not a game. But, he managed to make a bet lose it and not suffer the consequences. Which I think is kind of impressive, really. I think David Cameron was pretty quick out of number 10 once he found out that that Brexit had won. Yeah, I know. It's like, especially if you look at British politics, and in fact, it's basically like the world's shittest spin-off of Game of Thrones at the moment. Yeah, it's surprising to remember that politics isn't a game. That's another thing as well. It's like the whole like tribalism around politics. Something that really annoys me. It's the fact that it's like people like treat politics like it's football, and that you have to support the same team your parents did, and that to not support whoever is like the local default is to be a traitor or whatever you want to label them as. Like, I really dislike that. It's nonsense. Because, like, fundamentally, and it feels like this is another thing that people have just kind of lost, is the fact that politics and laws, the entire legal system, how a country is run, like in a democratic system, is meant to reflect the morals of that country. It's like, when people say, oh, I'm not political, what they're saying is they don't have any morals or any opinions. It's like, how can you not have morals, right? You either you fundamentally misunderstand politics, or you're a sociopath. I've just seen a massive multi-line on the head of the sergeant. That's really... Yeah, it's like a really interesting example for me of this is I used to have a couple of friends. Shocking, I know. I suppose I said had, which is probably less surprising. And one of them became unhealthily attached to me and like really, really interested in me, to a point where even to this day, their username on Discord is my actual name. My first name, not the full name. That would be a bit weird. But it's like they became very, very obsessed with me, and became very uncomfortable. To a point where the only time I met up with them was when there was a group of other people. They vote UKIP. And at the time, what UKIP wanted to do was remove my citizenship as someone from the United Kingdom and then find basically any basically if I were to then from that point onwards commit a crime, the default stance of the UK would have been, if UKIP were in power, would be to deport me to Germany. Which in hindsight would actually be a really cheap and effective way for me to move country. But, it's like that was the political stance of a guy who was completely obsessed with me. And like I talked to him about this, like, hey, look, I cannot be friends with you. I don't want to associate with you because I know you actively vote for a political party that actively wants to try and remove me from the country I was born in, where I spent my entire life living in, because I have foreign blood. And like he's like, oh, I didn't know, I didn't realize. Like, dude, you're fucking paying a member of this political party. How the fuck did you not know? It's like, oh, well, because my mum signed me up. What? And he never read any of this? He never, like, paid any attention to what your mum was talking about? What the party you pay money towards actually says and stuff? And even after I pointed out to him, he still didn't cancel his membership. He still carried on being a member of UKIP. I don't know if he still is or not, because, for obvious reasons I've broken contact with him. But yeah, it's like he still expects me to be friends with him even after, he confirmed he supported a political party that actively wants to remove me from the country. And yeah, I have a similar case of another friend, who I still don't understand to this day how he ended up being such a extremist, considering his mother is one of the most wonderful and, like, genuinely one of the nicest people you will ever meet. Like, by a fucking huge distance. Like, she was very much like a mother to me. And she's a fairly alternative hippie, but her son, the guy I grew up with, he, if the British National Party was still around, he would be a paying member of it. It's like a pretty big fan of the black shirts, and British Nazism. And unsurprisingly, he's in the military now. And he wonders why I'm not in contact with him and why I'm not friends with him. Jeez, I wonder why. I wonder what he could possibly have said or done that resulted in me not wanting to be friends with him. Um, I wouldn't say Mark Belton's a good historian. I have no clue who the historian is, so I can't say. But Mark Belton is not a very good historian. And has made a surprisingly large amount of sentences a little bit tough. And far too much variably pleasing. Yeah, it's also a thing that like really fascinates me as well, especially because recent events. It's just like how much people just don't understand about what the Nazis actually did. Especially in regards to like what kind of demographics they went after. Like what kinds of people that the Nazis tried to eliminate and get rid of. It resulted in a fairly, famous incident relatively recently, which has, sparked a lot of debate and discussion online about what the fuck is going on. With, J.K. Rowling, Queen Turk, suggesting that the Nazis didn't target trans people or genderqueer people during the Holocaust. And so she's now actually noted on Wikipedia as being a Holocaust denier, because she seems to be under the impression that only the Jewish were targeted. And yeah, her complete denial that, trans people were the first people targeted by the Nazis, really. So, it's impressive. It's like how poorly educated, particularly English-speaking people are, when it comes to what actually happened. And there's almost like single-minded focus on it being, Jewish people, and then it's like if you study it history at secondary, well, it's like college or higher education levels, it's only then when it's really focus about how gay people, lesbians, people of other religions were targeted. And so there's just a lot of people who just aren't aware, because of how bad education is, that it wasn't just Jewish people, and that the Jewish people were just chosen to be the equivalent of unfortunately it's right now it's the Jewish people were targeted for the same reason people would target Muslim people at the moment, because we've been conditioned to hate Muslims by the social media and the news at the moment, because they were blamed for various events which weren't because of their religion, those people's religions. And it's the same kind of shit, right? And it's in a relatively depressing sense, the parallels are pretty fucking strong between Germany in the 1930s and modern day, Europe generally. It's trans people are being villainized for a simple point of existing. There's a religious group of people which are being unfairly targeted and discriminated against, and politicians, running out of ideas, getting desperate, and extremist populists rising to power. Thankfully, I'd say so far, generally speaking, people have enough brain cells at the moment, and with the invention of the internet and the ability to, do some basic fucking research, or, more demonstrably on places like Twitter, publicly humiliate the idiots with community notes. People tend to be, smart enough and aware enough now at the moment that it hasn't snowballed to the same extreme as it had a century ago. Yeah, it's pretty difficult for people to, unironically think the Israeli government has not been doing the things which it pretty clearly has been doing. You have to be incredibly fucking stupid to not see what Israel's been doing. And no, that does not mean Jewish people are bad, or that Jewish people should be condemned, or that anyone of any religion should be, persecuted and punished for their beliefs. But the country of Israel, the government of Israel, absolutely should be punished for the atrocities it's been causing. And that has nothing to do with the religion of the people within the Israeli government. Yeah. And, it's like I'm not a successful or large enough streamer to get cancelled for it yet, but the amusing parallels of feeling bad for Israel and using that as a reason to let them get away with doing the horrific things they're doing seems incredibly similar to what happened to Germany post-World War I. Just saying. Obviously, there's a lot more to it. Yeah, it's really fascinating seeing the way politics is heading. And because we are very much walking down similar paths to what Europe was walking down a century ago. And it seems like there's enough people who are intelligent enough to be aware of that around now, and aren't, blindly walking into this because we're not in a, not yet in a time of, radical political reform. We're not witnessing the toppling of monarchies and, the reformation of countries into democratic countries. We're not witnessing that. There's no, massive political upheaval happening right now to confuse people. At least outside of England, I suppose. And Russia, I guess, to a degree. So, people are significantly better informed now, and the moral opinions of people has changed enough that I don't believe things will ever get as bad as they were a century ago. But we have to be careful about it, because unfortunately there are people who are just too poorly educated to understand the dangers of certain decisions and certain actions still. Whether that's really just the incredible incompetence of the governments and their budget cuts, or intentional suppression of information because it doesn't fit narratives. There's many reasons why. And for reasons you could potentially come up with to explain why we're in the situation we're in. Ultimately, right now, what matters is we're in this situation, and we need to do better than our ancestors did. Right, we need to wait for stuff to dry. So temporarily, we'll paint something a little bit different. Okay, just shaking up the paint. I haven't used this paint in a while. Right. Paintbrush. No, I'll open a new paintbrush today. We've got some new paintbrushes to try. This paintbrush, it's kind of difficult for you to see, but a Royal and Langnickel paintbrush set. My local hobby store is selling them. It's relatively cheap, so I thought I'd pick them up and give them a go. Yeah, we need to wait for the paint to dry over Mantis Warriors, so... Here you go. Hey Mitch, I have a couple of questions for you, as you're here. Firstly, how much do you trust me in making decisions with this model? Okay, second question. How much do you like the color shift paint effect? Okay, so the Hydras and the Spear and the Pistol are all meant to be a green colour. And I could either paint them, green, or I could try and see if a colour shift paint would work. Yeah. Do I have it on the stand? So the first colour I have is this one. It goes green to purple. Kind of think like, the shiny green flies. It's like that kind of green to purple. So that as an option. And I also have tropical green, which is more of like a green to an orange colour. What I'll do is after the stream, I'll find some pictures of when I did the test paints. And let you decide. Because at the moment, I'm kind of 50-50 on what direction I would personally go. Because, like, how this paint works. Yeah, it's like the yeah, I could do a red glow on the blade. Well, a dull red glow. Yeah, because I have done a couple of test models in the past in various colours. I'll see if I can find them. Like, I won't be doing the colours today. Yeah, I was initially thinking of doing Martian Green for the Alpha Legion, but realized relatively quickly that I kind of like the blue color as well for the Alpha Legion. And hey Slave, how's it going? Currently painting Alfarius. Whilst we wait for the base coat on the primer for Mantis Warriors to dry. Yes and no. The effect won't blend, but you'd get microparticles of both colors. Yeah, it's another color I initially tried for Alpha Legion was this color, Celestial Azure. But this color just kind of stays just blue. It didn't have the doesn't nearly have as much of a dramatic color shift as this one, which is Psychotic Illusions. It's a bit of a deeper blue as well, which it doesn't really suggest looking at the bottle. It's primarily like this kind of blue, in between the purple and the light blue. That's like another option. This would actually be closer to what I'd use for ultramarines, if I were to do metallic ultramarines. What did I think of the Adepticon reveals? Yeah, good question. I can't remember them. What was there? It was the Dwarf for Old World. That's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing Dwarf armies for tabletop. They are kind of like one of my natural enemy armies when it comes to the Old World. Oh yeah, there's the reveal, well, suggestion that something from Mechanicum might happen. That'd be nice. For the Horus Heresy. One that really makes sense. Yeah, Attack Marina upgrades free for consoles. I really hope the suggestion and the direction it's going in is the Ratkin, because they're always a cool necromancer gang. And Scabs would also be nice to see as well. Yeah, Hamish, hopefully you understand why I said I wasn't feeling confident to paint Horus Ascended for you, right? Because, you know, just normal Primarchs have enough detail on them. The thing that annoys me about Necromunda is they split my favourite gang effectively into two. Because in original Necromunda, I used to really like House of Van Saar. Because they weren't the weird tech bros that they are today. They had better equipment still, but that's because they were basically, you know, working as like a press gang for the Planetary Defense Force. So their original gimmick was kinda, yes, they had good armed trade and stuff, you know, they had lasguns and stuff, you know, they had access to Militarum equipment, basically because they were trading it for people. And they've kind of done away with that now by making them these super advanced, super technological people. That somehow have a functioning STC on their, in their territory. Which I think is kind of a bit silly, personally. Because the thing with it is that it's like the idea that, in the deepest depths of such a, forgotten and overlooked planet as Necromunda, that there are such, miraculous devices as an entire functioning STC sat right under the noses of the Imperium and the Mechanicum is an interesting idea. It's like that, the Imperium doesn't care. Well, doesn't give a shit about its planets to a point where, the single thing that could save humanity is, right there under their noses. It's like a very powerful statement. But you also have to remember how much of a fucking backwater and a, insignificant hive world Necromunda really is. Which is kind of the point of it. It's meant to be, it's meant to be an example of just how shit living on the hive world is. And you mean to tell me that Necromunda is the only such planet to to have a functioning STC buried on it. Well, under it. And, you know, it's like, the chances of it just being Necromunda are pretty slim. Which kind of implies as well and suggests that there's other places in the Imperium. Like, I think it would be incredibly funny if the Hive World, now Death World of Birmingham had an STC on it. That would be very funny. But, you know, it's like the chances of, you know, there being a functioning STC on Necromunda and nowhere else is incredibly low. I still also find it incredibly funny that the coolest squats only exist in Necromunda. And that they are the standard squats across the galaxy. And I still kind of wish I had the money to make a squat Imperial Militia army. Because there are rules for it. You can actually play squats from early editions of 40k in the Horus Heresy using the Imperial Militia rules. Like, the rules are just there for it. It's really funny. Yeah, one battle I'd really love to do is like a scenario of like one of the Imperium's Great Crusade assaults on the Squat World. You know, it's like a breacher heavy army equipped with like mining lasers and las cannons and stuff, wearing Mark III and stuff. And all the stuff they had to design to deal with the squats in the old lore. Like, because I think that would be a really cool battle to have. It's snowing. What? Wait, what? Snowing in England at this time of year. Yeah, I was thinking of actually going on a mini cycle tour this weekend and just cycle around Dartmoor. Maybe not. One of the interestingly annoying things about the trim on our furnace is it's all got a ridge around it. It's not just these blocks of silver, there's a ridge around the silver as well. Right. Just realised the time and my hand's aching a bit, so I think this will be where we wrap up the stream for tonight. Hope you guys have enjoyed this stream. I know I haven't really painted much of our Mantis Warriors. I kind of realised halfway through painting the silver trim on Alfarius that I put the wrong cleaning chemicals in my airbrush, and it was going to take a while for me to actually clean it out. So sorry to sneakily end up turning this into an Alfarius painting stream, but hey, he needs to be painted, and I think he's looking quite nice so far. We've just blocked him with silver, and we've got the colour shift paint on. But hey, we're talking about two sneaky, stealthy armies here. What did you expect? Honest transparency? No. That's not what these armies do. But yeah, hopefully you also enjoyed the political discussion as well. It's kind of a bit of a rarity for the stream to actually have like a prolonged talk about politics, but hopefully you guys found like it interesting at the very least. Yeah, but love to hear what you guys think about that. So if you're here for painting, or maybe here for politics as well, consider hitting follow. I've got a lot of things to paint at the moment, namely Alfarius for Hamish, who's in chat, but also my Mantis Warriors, got Bretonians to paint up, got my Empress Children that need painting, and also some Battletech miniatures. I got the email yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I think. Anyway, I got the email confirming what asking for my address to confirm my location for my Kickstarter from Battletech. So shouldn't be too long now before all of those miniatures arrive. And when they do, dear God, I'm going to have a lot of miniatures to paint. So I kind of want to finish the backlog of Battletech minis I already have. I know that's kind of a pointless task to like even consider trying to do, but definitely something I want to consider doing. But also so I can work out what colour schemes I'm painting for mechs from the Kickstarter in as well. So going to be some Battletech stuff coming on soon. What else? Tomorrow, not sure if there'll be a stream. As you guys probably noticed, Thursdays we don't have streams. Fridays we'll be back to MechWarrior Online. So hopefully, if you're interested in Battletech, you're familiar with MechWarrior Online, or you just enjoy watching people kill other people with big stompy robots. I know that's definitely appealing. So yeah, make sure to pop by on Friday for that. On Saturday, we'll probably crack on with more painting of both Alfarius and the Mantis Warriors. I'll make sure to actually be ready to paint the Mantis Warriors properly next time. So I also need to strip some of the old minis down. I'm still trying to finalise the list for that as well. Saturday will be more hobby painting. Sunday, we'll see when we get there what we do. I'm not sure if we'll stream or if we will, if I'll be around to stream. We'll see. So, make sure to join the Discord server. Hamish has already done the links for me, so thanks for the prompt. Today people voted to watch me paint the Mantis Warriors, and in second place was the Alpha Legion. So today we built our Mantis Warrior Recon Squad, and got them primed up. That's kind of difficult for you to see. There's glossy black on camera is never easy to see. But yeah, we made some recon boys for my Mantis Warriors. And then we started, we carried on painting Alfarius, starting on the silver trim on him. So if that's stuff you'd like to see more of, then make sure to join the Discord server. as I post updates there, and also I let my Discord community decide what I do on certain days. So on Saturday it will be the same thing again. I'll ask my Discord community before I go live what they'd like to see me focus on painting, and we will do that. And then whatever's in second place will be the thing we work on whilst we're waiting for that to finish drying. And so on until, you know, we get the idea. And yeah, finally, if you want to help out, currently this is my only work at the moment, which is a little bit stressful. So if you'd like to support me, you can do so via Ko-fi. And if you'd like to commission me to paint some models for you, whether that's individual models like Alfarius here or entire armies, you can commission me via Ko-fi. If you're a Ko-fi member, it's like £1 a month. Then yeah, we can organise a commission and get stuff painted for you. I am currently taking commissions as realistically, there's not a huge amount left to paint on Alfarius here, and Hamish has been relatively generous with not putting a time frame on me to get him painted. So yeah, yeah, there are slots open for people to commission me to paint minis, and yeah, I think that's about it. If you're over on YouTube, make sure to hit like on the stream as well, and consider subscribing over there. Speaking of which, if you're over on Twitch and you want to support me in, well, through Twitch, subscriptions are always there, so are bits, and so is the soundboard. Although I'd greatly appreciate it if people didn't use the soundboard whilst I'm painting. But yeah, it's fair if you wanna make me suffer. I paint it, yes. If you have Nathaniel Garrett, if you have characters which you know I dislike, I won't say no to painting them. Well, if you want to see me paint Garrow again, you can commission me to do it. If you want, a model I'd really like to paint is Erebus. If you have an Erebus model you'd like to see me paint, then please commission me to do it. I'd quite like to do that one. But yeah, right, that's enough for tonight. I will see you all on Friday. Have a wonderful rest of your day and tomorrow, and I will see you then. Have a good one.